will you do a thumbs up on the screen if you got that PDF that Lydia put in there? Everyone get it? Reason is because we're going to go through, it's going to go note by note. I like to cover a lot of stuff, but like this and this and this and this. And today we're going to try to put it in order so you have a kind of a reference that you can kind of go back to and see. So here we go. Today we're going to be talking about the things that we knew because we all passed the test and we forgot in real estate. These are oftentimes I get calls like this the most often are some of the things that show up. So we're going to talk about them. We're going to look and see the best way to approach different things. One, I got to say, Jen was online. Jen is online. And Jen is great at calling the broker. And she also is great at saying, hey, we should talk about these things. So she gave me a full list of items that she would like us to cover. And a lot of that is on here. So we're going to go through. We're going to use this slideshow a little bit. We're going to use your sheets a little bit as we go through. If we get past the section, like I go into section, you go, wait, what was the fill in the blank? Just ask it because sometimes I might miss it, but I'll try that. Good? Everyone in for this? Here we go. Participation is always good. All right, we're going to start with proof. Hey, we're going to start with proof of funds. The goal of this is kind of going to work us through a transaction. There'll be some spots where it doesn't line up perfectly, and I see you already are cheating. You're writing in your blanks. That's okay. Go ahead. We have different types of learners. So what's the difference between a pre-qual and a pre-approval? One, oh, you want a cheat sheet?
Yeah.
Cheat sheet. These are for taking notes. I do have the cheat sheet for all the fill in the blanks in case I forget them. So.
Are you sending this out after this?
What's that?
Did you already say you're sending this out afterwards?
Send it out. Like show up for the class.
Well, what if I don't write it in?
You can write it in right now. Otherwise, you can talk to others that were in the class.
Okay.
All right. Everyone's like looking in, filling in their blank. Eyes up here. Let's talk in this little. All right. So that's okay. So you learn by it right then. A pre-qual is a self-poll. We say it's not reliable because you guys get those things probably in the mail all the time. It says, hey, you've been pre-qualified for this. And what that means is they do a general search, a soft pull of your credit. They go, that person's going to fit criteria without knowing anything else about them, that they're probably going to qualify for that home. So, and then the other part is the pre-approval. Now, pre-approval is the specific, and you guys have got this part already, but is specific, and then it has the underwriting, like an automatic underwriting system kind of looks at that. So that is what your, is it on your sheet? What does AUS stand for? Someone tell me. Your
Automatic underwriting.
Nice job, Lydia. Automatic underwriting system. So that means, hey, I've put it, we've done a hard pull, we've done through the first stage of underwriting, and then we go through there. We've also on that we might have verified income and made sure that things are good. On your proof of funds, one of the things you want to make sure that you're getting is you want to make sure you see their name, you see their bank, you see the date and the balance, but also what might be good to do on that. Pay is to verify. So whenever you get a piece of paper, it's always a good idea to verify and make sure that the information that you have is correct. So on your fill out sheets in front of you, number one, a pre-qual is a soft pull, no docs. Pre-approval is a hard pull. Number three, AUS stands for automated underwriting system. Number four, the four main loan types are what? FHA, conventional, VA, USDA, so FHA is 3.5% down, can be more, but can be there. They're more lenient with credit. And oftentimes they will have a lifetime of mortgage insurance, right? So when your client decides which loan they should go to, one of the nice things is it's sometimes easier to qualify for FHA. One of the challenges is you have mortgage insurance. Someone tell me what mortgage insurance is. Yeah, so it's insurance ensuring that they're taking a risk because you don't have as much equity in the house. Insurance is back in that. Okay, perfect. What's a VA loan? Who can qualify for a VA loan? You just said the word. Veterans, right? Veterans can qualify it. How much money do they have to put down? 0. So this is one of the things that is important to think about as you're listing a house and reviewing offers, is sometimes someone will come with 0% down. It doesn't mean they're broke. It doesn't mean they can't afford the house. It simply means they have the option not to do that. When home prices were going like this, it made a lot of sense to put 0 down on your house because you could just ride that equity out, right? So it's a benefit to the buyer. Oftentimes people just reject those all the right out and go, let's just look at conventional or cash, right? Cash, conventional. But they all have different things. What's conventional financing? Conventional is the underneath cash, then we got conventional financing. It can be anywhere from 3% down to 20+% down, right? Conventional financing. There's PMI, which is that private mortgage insurance, if it's less than 20%. But one of the things that's different is once you hit that loan to value, then you can stop paying mortgage insurance.
You have to refinance to do that, Kevin?
Oftentimes you want to refinance or connect with your lender, they'll give you options. Here's Fraser does it. That's right.
You have to give them a whole document of all the things you've updated and how much.
Right. So sometimes it makes a lot of sense to talk to your lender and refer your clients to the lenders because we are, remember that section of the PA, we're experts in the area of real estate, but nothing else, right? So connect better. Mortgage insurance. I don't know. See where I'm at here. Okay. Mortgage insurance protects the lender, not the borrower. PMI is to protect the lender, not the borrower. I already said that in FHA, the mortgage insurance is permanent and conventional can drop off. Appraisal waivers. Sometimes the lender will call the buyer or call the listing agent and say, hey, good news, we don't have to do an appraisal on the house. And the reason is because the value of the house and what they're borrowing, they show that they have enough invested in that property. The property is worth enough to not have to go through the appraisal process. That's different than the appraisal gap piece that you can write in an appraisal gap, how you're handling it. But sometimes there will be a waiver on the appraisal because they're buying it at such a great value that they're getting. Proof of funds we talked about. Must show name, bank, date, balance, all those kind of things. That's the financing. Here's one of the pieces that you could write in your financing, or not write in your financing, but as you're reviewing financing from your, both on the buy side, you're going to work with someone. The PA, by the way, in your contracts and our exclusive listing, one of the things that it, exclusive buyer rep as well, is one of the things it shows is that information becomes available to you as the client. I mean, as the agent to the client. So you can call the lender and say, hey, I'm the agent for such and such. Can you confirm that they're pre-approved? Right? You want to make sure. Can you confirm that they're pre-approved up to a certain point? And then when you get an offer, then you can do the same thing on the listing side. Call the lender and say, hey, I just want to confirm I got your pre-approval letter here. I want to confirm this, this, and this. Did you go through this process? All those different. Go ahead.
Confirming proof of funds as the listing agent.
Yeah.
So they're not using a lender, they're just showing proof of funds. Are they allowed to give you access to that? Are they allowed to tell you the balance? I mean, you might have a sheet that says it, that proves it, but are they bound to any kind of
I would say the same,
confidentiality? Is what
the
I'm
same thing is I want to verify that these funds are legit. Yeah.
They have to provide that to you?
Well, here's the deal. Do they have to? No. Do you, does that put question marks into should you move forward with the transaction, right? What you're doing is just you're acting in your client's best interest. You want to verify, hey, I'm just calling to verify that your client, I was sent this I want to verify that these funds are this information is accurate.
Okay, so you would call the buyer's agent, you wouldn't call the bank?
Oh, I would call the bank.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and they have to.
They will, or they won't tell you. They might say, hey, I can't tell you. That's fine. And then I just do a deeper verification of it.
RJ has a question.
RJ. Did he write it down or is he have, there he comes.
Oh yeah, I'm here. Yeah, so you talked about the mortgage insurance, where it protects the bank when you do the insurance, but then, anyway, there's also a mortgage insurance that they sell you and the bank. You have to purchase mortgage insurance for them to protect them on their mortgage.
Yep, that's what it does. It protects the bank, not the borrower.
But you also buy a mortgage insurance for yourself, don't you? I think that because when I see my closing statements, it always says two sets of mortgage insurance. Is that one for the bank and one for myself?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay. I'll have to look at the documents.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then two, secondary and a follow-up on that is, so you have this mortgage insurance and there's companies that are on TV every single day, all day long saying there's people that are going to transfer your title or your,
Yes.
you know.
Yeah, that's different, RJ. That's title insurance.
Oh,
That's
title. Okay.
that's
Oh yeah, right.
the private mortgage insurance.
You're right. You're right. Title insurance. Yep. Never mind. Okay.
All right. Thank you for the questions. Thanks for engaging.
Yep.
Is section 1 all filled out on your sheets? All right, let's go to the next section. Earnest money. Earnest money is an interesting thing. How quickly is earnest? See, I'm going to skip already. What is earnest money?
Good faith deposit.
That's right. It is a good faith deposit. And in the purchase agreement, where is it covered?
Right in the beginning.
It's right in the beginning. It's lines 5 through 15 of the purchase agreement are earnest money. Earnest money, is earnest money required? In order to have a valid contract, you have to have earnest money. No, you do not have to have earnest money. If it's written in your contract, in order for your contract to be valid, you have to complete that term of if it says we're going to put in $5,000 in earnest money, you have to follow what that says. Yes, because it's a term written in there. It doesn't have to be in there, but once it's in there, it's enforceable. We're going to talk later about the stages of a contract. What can you do when something's not done? But that's a correctable one. So it's supposed to be in when? Delivered within. Oh, wait. Let's go back to our PA here. Oh, shoot, I just closed it, but let's go here. This was my tool to show. It says, oh, this is, while I'm pulling this up, I'll say this. If ever you don't know the answer, what should you do?
Read the form.
Read the contract. Yes. Right. So sometimes people will call me and I'll say, well, what does the form say? And you say, I didn't look at it. Well, let's look at it together, right? What does the form say? We want the purchase agreement here. And it's all the way down at the bottom. It starts with purchase. New construction, purchase agreement forms. You guys ever like click on residential versus commercial? You're like, why does this form look different? Because they start with the same. All right, what does it say? Earnest money. Can you guys see this? Can I make it bigger? Zoom in on that. There you go, 2 business days. So it has to be in within 2 business days, then the brokerage has to get it into a trust account. But for your agents, they have to put it in no later than 2 business days after the final acceptance date. So, do they have to turn it in before an accepted offer? No, and they shouldn't. You shouldn't do trust funds until you have an accepted offer, but then you have 2 business days to get it in. What if it's not in within 2 business days? Does your contract go away? No, it's correctable. You can get it back into a spot. It means you're out of terms. We'll get to the actual spot, but you can correct it. It's not a reason to cancel your purchase agreement. All right, where are we at? Yes.
So let's say, they, one person you agreed on this offer, but then they didn't do the earnest money thing. If you were working with the seller and they maybe wanted to go with a different, is that an option for them to cancel based on the earnest?
Not really. It's not really a option to cancel because there's other things on your purchase agreement. They would have the option to, hey, I haven't received this. We got to make it corrective. Yeah. Yes. All right. So let's go through your sheet here. Earnest money is covered in PA's lines 5 through 15. Earnest money is not required by law. During contingencies, so I say during the inspection period, but it's during all contingencies. And I'll say inspection period. During the inspection period, buyers can walk away for any reason or no reason at all. Right? That's what I tell them. It's supposed to do with the inspection, but inspection is very loosely termed. So it could be, you know what, I drove by it again and I saw something I didn't notice before. I'm out. What your clients need to understand is that earnest money is refundable to the buyer until all contingencies are removed, and then also because you'll have a written statement, so depends how you put that. But earnest money becomes non-refundable after written statement. So number 3 is refundable during contingencies, non-refundable once written statement is delivered. Sometimes I get the question of, hey, it looks like financing isn't going to work, but we haven't yet hit the written statement date. Can we cancel? The answer is yes. And what happens to that earnest money? It's refundable, right? So we haven't delivered written statement. There's a section in the next spot says we haven't delivered written statement. When you hit that date and you haven't delivered written statement, the seller has the option to cancel the purchase because you haven't done your term, right? If they don't cancel it and you back out before closing, you could argue, hey, we never gave you that written statement date, so we are going to get refunded. Once you give that written statement or you hit to that closing date and then you can't qualify, that money goes to the seller. Okay.
How is the seller protected if you have a contingency to sell the buyer's home?
Yeah.
And, you know, it might take a month and a half or something like
Yep.
that, you know, and the
Yep.
whole, like, what is the purpose then of earnest money if it's not then protecting the seller if they end up having to put their house right back, they just missed all of spring, whatever.
And that's what your clients need to understand is every contingency puts them at risk. Every contingency. So what protects the seller is the seller can call out, hey, we're going to call the period of time, right? And say you have to have a purchase agreement on your property, pending purchase agreement, or we're going to sell to someone else. The challenge is with those contingent on the sale properties is as soon as you then have to change your status, right? Because now you're active contingent. And as soon as you do that, what happens to buyers looking at your home? They stop looking, right? They reduce their looking. In fact, as buyer's agents, one of the things that you might want to do is evaluate, do we show some properties that have a contingency? because you might be able to get that property still. So every contingency is an advantage, like that is an advantage to the buy side. It's hindering the sell side. Sometimes you gotta accept them to get your property. Hey, we haven't got an offer. In 90 days, now we have one contingent upon the sale of their house. Let's maybe consider that one. You would also want to say things like, one of the things we want to do is we want to know the address of their property, what price they're going to list their property, who's listing their property, can we see images of this property, all those things to ensure that that's going to be quicker sale. Non-refundable statutory cancellation. So what happens with earnest money if agreement is canceled? Goes to the buyer, sometimes it goes to the seller, depends who's in breach of the contract. Here's the thing to know. You can sign a cancellation, parties can sign a cancellation, you can do different cancellation processes, but that money can't be released until what? Both parties agree. Right, they sign the cancellation, they put that on there, but there is a statutory cancellation where there's been a number of days, there's a process for statutory cancellation, where it says, hey, we're canceled this, earnest money to be put out here, and that can get refuted by an attorney. If they don't refute it, that's canceled, or you have a judge say this is canceled, this is what happens to earnest money. The problem with not refunding earnest money, like we have our attorney here tomorrow, everyone should go to that. You can ask this question, but he would oftentimes say the best thing is to sign it, refund the earnest money, and move on, because you want to sell that house as quickly as you can. The longer it sits on the market, so there's some challenges with earnest money. All right, do you have all your answers? Are all the answers to the questions there? What's that? Number 5, 30-day notice. Statutory is 30. This is already in there, but if you want to make earnest money hard, you can put in a statement like this. It's hard because it messes with the rest of the contract. And whenever you do that, things kind of get, now we're going to have to get a lawyer. If you start fighting over earnest money, lawyers oftentimes have to come in and cost. Remember, do not advise your clients on those things. But you could put in a statement, buyer and seller agree that earnest money of blank shall be non-refundable at acceptance. That is a risky statement, but sometimes people make sure your clients know you're not an attorney. All right, here we go. Tish. How many of you have had to sold a property in a Tish space? No, not yet. Okay. Cities are very unique. Orono has a unique one. Golden Valley has something. Minneapolis has something. The trick is to figure out what it is. I sold a property in New Hope, and I never sell property in New Hope. And then I realized, they don't call it a Tish, they call it a something else, but you have to have it before you sell the property. So it's always good to check with the ordinances of that spot. Here are some that are required, but it stands for Truth in Sale of Housing. Truth in Sale of Housing. It's required in Minneapolis, Bloomington, Hopkins, St. Paul, Valley, and other spots. Also, some places are now like requiring scopes of your sewer lines and different things. So it's important to see what that is. Inspections, repairs must be written on an amendment. They can't be written on an email. On a purchase agreement form. Amendment to the purchase agreement form is where they are. But you gotta put that on your spot. So, hey, we did our inspection. We don't wanna walk away. We're gonna do our negotiations. You can always say yes, no, or counter. We've come to agreement. All of that must be put on an amendment. That amendment should be shared with title and through all that process because it's part of your contract. On the amendment, here's what you want to make sure you do. This is just an example, but you want to put who's doing the work, who's paid for the work, and by when is the work being done, right? So who's covering this cost? The seller's responsibility. Who's doing the work? Seller will have a licensed Minnesota licensed electrician or licensed plumber or whatever do the work. Sometimes things like GFCI outlets are very easy to do, and they can cost like $25 for your sellers to go out and just put one in. However, if you have a licensed electrician do them, they're like $150 a piece. So it makes sense to grab some of that stuff on the front end. But in your inspection, if you're the buyer, you want to put licensed electrician to put it in there because it's better for your client.
All you don't do anything they pull, even like Hazard or whatever, like Minneapolis or Hopkins cannot sell.
You can't sell a property without the corrections.
Without the correction.
Yeah.
All of you get that lengthy.
Yeah.
So some of them don't have, some of them you have to have it before listing and some of it you can still negotiate with the buyer on this kind of.
So in the same as disclosure, when is our disclosure supposed to be provided? Prior to showing the property, right? And the TIsh should be at the same time. People should have access to
So like a
use
lot of times like Minneapolis, it's on the seller to be.
it. And the buyer,
Outlets are done, like at pre-closing, all the items that were called
That's
out
right.
on the TIsh need to be completed. So a lot of times sellers just like do it, Kevin's point of it's a lot cheaper just to like have it done even before the time.
Yeah.
Yep.
For St. Paul, you get those literal 100-year-old homes and the basement is the stairs are not gonna be perfect, the railing's not gonna have to come, all that will just be pulled out. But they don't have to do anything. They just have to provide it to you.
until they write it on an inspection amendment, and then the buyer's agent writes all items on TIsh to be corrected prior to blah, 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 blah.
So, and then if you had it off market, it would just have to be that the TIsh was done prior to showing it.
Yeah, yep. Because then prior to an agreement is what's happening. Because if it's not, see, now you can look at it and go, wait, our agreement, this is different than what what I thought I was buying. Are we on section 3, right? Repairs must be written on amendment of purchase agreement form. Time is of the essence, which means what? Huh? Deadlines matter. Deadlines matter. What is day 1? If we sign a contract today is Tuesday. What's day 1? Wednesday. When does day 1 end? Nope.
Wednesday, 11:59.
11:59. It ends. Okay. So let's say we're in an inspection period. I'm representing the buyer. Okay, we're in an inspection period. We have not yet come to terms on the work that I would like done. Right? I've sent an amendment. These are the things I want done. But we're in our final day of inspection. It is 11:50 p.m. Everyone's in bed, but it's 11:50 p.m. and we don't have an agreement yet on what happens to what the seller is willing to do. What happens to that contract? Without a cancellation, it goes as written. So if you are a buyer's, the amendment is to amend the contract as written. If you don't have an amendment agreed upon before that time, contract goes as written. So as buyer's agents, what you want to do is make sure you get that to the sellers early so that they can review it and sign it. If you are on the last day and you send that, your last line should say, seller agrees or agrees to sign the cancellation. Because if not, your clients move forward, you put them at risk because of your delay, not following the time of the essence. So.
Fair, sometimes it takes longer to get like an extra inspector out there, and then you could do an amendment to. an amendment.
That's right. So what you need to do is amend your contract to add more time to the inspection period. Those are important things to do. Time is of the essence. If that happens, contract goes on as written. Right? So you put, that's a time of the essence. Typical inspections include radon, chimney, stucco, pool. If you have a pool, by the way, if you have a pool, you should make sure you get someone out there to inspect the pool for leaks. You should have a pool company doing it, make sure the pool equipment works. They, especially in Minnesota, if you didn't take care of it and it froze, that's no good. So, we talked about this in the team meeting the other day. If I'm a buyer, I'm doing a stucco inspection. I want to know what's going on with stucco. You can do a sewer, you can do the roof, you can do all those. Yeah, it was controversial if the seller should do it on the front end or if the buyer, but always the buyer should do an inspection. Does that have all your fill in the blanks? Yeah. All right, next section. Here we go. Boom, boom, boom. Measuring a home. All right. MLS requires ANSI D7652021 standard for measuring. Someone tell me what that is. No idea. This is one that we got to talk about because it actually came up on, hey, Kevin, I think this person's lying about the house because their measurements are so wrong. Okay, can you tell what that is? Yes? Okay, so you tell what these are? When they're written like that versus like this? Windows, but what? See how they're half windows?
Our egress window.
There you go.
obviously.
Stuff. There. Fantastic.
I can be on the dictionary.
All right. Okay, a couple reasons with this. When you measure a house, how should you measure according to these standards? I want to find out the square footage of my house. How do I figure out the square footage of a house? How many of you are measuring a house? Who do you have measure your houses? Huh? Zoe. Great. Zoe's good. Who do you have? Buyer's agent. Okay, here's why it matters. Here's why it matters. When you measure a house, you should measure from here on the outside to here. Right? You should measure this here, and then I don't know how to draw three-dimensionally. I wish I did. I think it goes this way. I don't know. But then the front to the back of the house as well. And that's how you get your total square footage. Don't measure inside the house, measure on the outside of the house, okay? Above grade means if these windows were like this, and then you walk into the front door there, that's above grade, and you would measure everything that's the floor is above grade. If it's a walkout or anything else, that is below grade. Below grade, right? Finished square space is this outside measurement minus unfinished square space. It's not, when you measure a room, you have rooms like this and your room is 10 by 12, let's say. Well, not the size bigger, 10 by 12. You can measure in there and you kind of get your estimates of the space, right? So when you're going inside, then you want to measure the rooms. Okay, we're going to measure them. Interior, we're going to get that space. All right, ready for a cheat sheet? Okay. There you go. Here's your cheat sheet. So how do you do it? You measure from the outside walls, not the inside, square footage, all those different pieces. Okay, what is finished space? Ceiling, floor, heating, yep. In fact, here are the guidelines. To be considered square footage, finished square footage, it must have permanent heating or cooling. So I have a Four Seasons porch that I added on. Is that considered finished square space? If it has heating. If I slide the door closed, like that's the slide in, right? People build them off the patio, and there's no heat in that space, is it finished? Even if it has drywall and looks beautiful with windows and the floor is fantastic, the answer is no, because it doesn't. But if I put radiant heat that's permanent in there, I skipped one. If I would put a space heater in there, would it be permanent space? No, but if I put permanent radiant heater in there, radiant heat, is it finished? Yes, right. So it must have a permanent heating cooling source, not just a space heater. It has to have finished walls, drywall, plaster, paneling, whatever. They just have to be finished. It has to have a finished ceiling. It could be a drop ceiling like in the basement, or it can be a drywall ceiling, but it's not exposed ceiling. Not exposed ceiling. Now, some places you would argue, well, this is the finished motif that we're looking for, but in general, it would not be a finished space. It has to have finished flooring. So your basement downstairs that's concrete is not considered finished flooring, right? If you paint it and put or if you put the garage floor stuff on it, put it in the house, yeah, epoxy or something, then it's finished space. But without, it has to have a flooring, a carpet, a hardwood, vinyl tile, etc. It has to have direct access from another living space. Okay, so does square footage? Is it considered part of your house square footage if you have an apartment above a detached garage? The answer is no, because it's not connected to your finished space. However, you can put additional finished space over here, but it's not considered part of the size of your home. So you have to have direct access from another living space. It has to have a minimum ceiling height. Anyone know how tall it has to be? 7 feet, right? Or 6'4" under ductwork. It's an allowance for ductwork.
At least 75%.
Right, all these technical reasons, yes. But in general, if you walk in 7 feet tall, if you walk in, you go, well, this is like 4 inches from my head. Not technically considered finished square slab. That's right. It's not considered finished square space if it only has bare concrete, if it lacks permanent heat, access only through unfinished space like a garage, permanent or primarily storage or mechanical use. So if it's primarily your mechanical room, it's not. And below grade counts as finished below grade. All right. In North Star, finished above grade is GLA. Finished below grade, like a beg, is like a record. All right. Did I answer all those things? ANSI above grade equals what? Section 4, number 2. Above grade equals fully above ground. Below grade equals any portion below ground. Oh, and then when you're measuring, it's always good to say measured by an appraiser. In the purchase agreement, by the way, it says these are approximate. So it doesn't have to be 100% right. But if you're having Zoe measure, you would say measured by an appraiser. Zoe that's what she does, or professional measurer. But you would want to say, yeah, professionally measured by Zoe Liston, who should be with Keller Williams, Lakeman and Fox.
Work on that.
That's right. Good. I was gonna show something and now I don't know where it was. But I know it. It was right here. In the spot that we always skip over because there are no blanks. It talks about the measurements of the property, all this good stuff is important to read. Right there, it says dimensions. Buyer acknowledges any dimensions, square footage or acreage or land or improvements provided by seller, third party or broker representing are approximate. Buyers shall verify the accuracy. So if a buyer shall verify, who's supposed to do that? The buyer's agent to verify. So if something's way off, if you notice, hey, this doesn't seem right, it's your job to verify for your client. Good? Section 5, what is a material fact? What's the blank on this one? Section 5. We got all the ones done in section 4, right? Yeah?
No material fact, anything that could change or. No, there's like an exact.
Right on track. Affecting, and so it's anything affecting the reasonable buyer's decision. Quiet enjoyment is what you're looking for, right? But it's anything that would affect the reasonable buyer's decision. So, are facts in the attic a material fact? Right. Are water in the basement a material fact? Yes. Is we had cats in the property material facts? Yes, these are all material facts, right? So what should you do with material facts? Disclose them. What should you do if your client has signed a waiver and didn't sign the disclosure, but you know all these things? Disclose them. That's right. It's your job. Even if you, and I know I'm skipping some here, even if your client signs a waiver, you have to disclose agent material facts. Signing a waiver is not permission to conceal, right? So someone texted me this week and said, hey, we did an inspection. There's mold on the property. It might keep my buyers from moving forward. Sellers just said they're going to clean it and put paint on it. Is that okay? As long as you disclose, hey, we remedied it by cleaning it and putting paint on it, right? What you're doing is you're disclosing, you're not covering up. Could they say, okay, you guys walk away, we're just gonna clean it up, put paint on it and not tell the next person? No, because they are concealing. Now, they're not agents in our office. It's not my job to tell them what to do, but that would be a wrong thing to do, right? All right, so material facts. Anything that affecting the reasonable buyer's decision, buyers can waive the disclosure form, but not the duty to disclose. Not the duties to disclose. And you guys always have to disclose. And so what I think is the best is if you know something, you would say to your clients, hey, we now know this, you should put that on the disclosure. They say, whoa, I don't want to put that on the disclosure. You then create a disclosure for yourself. Agent is aware of blank, 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 and provide that to the buyer's agent. I don't know that there's an agent disclosure. There might be, but if nothing, by the way, forms are always about putting it in writing. So that's the important part, and they're nice for having two people sign on and giving us common language. But you should always send it in writing. These are the things that we know about the property.
When would you send that?
Immediately, because as soon as you give that information, the buyer has new information about a property that wasn't there before and has the right to cancel because it significantly changed the terms of the contract. It's different from what I'm buying. No, because they're saying I'm not going to disclose that. I want you to know I'm obligated to disclose this. Yep.
So you disclose it just in an email, or is that a supplement thing?
Is there an agent? So the things with your amending the contract is between a buyer and a seller, so you won't want to use one of the standard addendums, but you could use an addendum,
Addendum to the seller's disclosure, would it be like an?
nope, because it's not to the seller's slip. Let's see if, I don't think there's a form either, but
Yeah, it's just like the agent will stand on addendum, like it's say like waived disclosures, and then it'll be like another like thing that you can open. It'll just say like, by the way, they had water, like whatever it was. And then, so that when your buyer signs, they sign both the addendum that the listing agent created,
yes.
saying like covering their butt, saying like, I know that.
I
there
knew
was
about
water.
this.
Yeah, and then they would also sign. We,
And that can be put in.
Like you already have a PA with them.
I've seen it like with houses I've shown before, because you click on the disclosure
Yeah.
that they've uploaded it.
And sometimes it'll be like a PDF, sometimes they'll take it, it's so versus an official format will be something that says, here we go, agent has signed that, and then you want to get that signed as well. Double signatures, right? That's the part.
We're not liable though for things that we don't know about.
No, right? And neither is your client. Sometimes that's why you don't want, yeah, sometimes it's, hey, we're gonna discover things in here that maybe we don't want. But
But if it was like a city that required a TIsh, for instance, isn't it then the agent's responsibility to have that knowledge?
it's to give all that information. So if you, when you got the tissue, put that in your supplements for the other party to see. Yep. All right, where are we at on this one? Are we in section 5?
Oh, no, the last one.
Oh, as is means seller won't repair. It doesn't mean you can't do inspections. It doesn't mean you can't do inspections. Do an inspections. Inspections are good. Know what you're buying. How are we doing on time? Whew, I knew this would happen.
I teach another class.
All right, here we go. Ready? We're gonna go through these. I'm gonna give you the fill in the blanks, because this will give you some good information without going through everything. All right, contingencies and possession. Number 1, sale of buyer's property requires a signed purchase agreement. If bumped, which is a weird word in Minnesota because it's not really a bump, buyer usually has 72 hours to remove a contingency. That is a Wisconsin, yes. Bump is a Wisconsin word, yes. Number 3, seller finding home of choice risk, buyer may lose inspection and appraisal costs. So those are the things, contingencies are a challenge. If the seller says, hey, I wanna buy your home, or I'll sell my home, but it's contingent on me finding one. Well, the buyer can't do anything about that. The whole thing lies with the seller. I just decided I like mine better. You're out. That's not necessarily great. Possession occurs when funds disperse, not when all documents are signed. So you go to a closing and they say, oh, we're waiting for funds to disperse. You've given your clients the keys already. They go in the house and then they go, oh, the funds haven't even come. And I moved stuff in. And you're like, you're in someone else's property. So don't hand keys over until funds have dispersed. It's not closed until funds have dispersed. Rent back. Should you rent back? Should you not rent back? It depends. Recognize there's risk in all these other things you do. So rent back, what you want to do on a strong rent back is you want to probably have a security deposit. You probably want to treat it like a regular lease. You want to talk about who's covering the cost of any repairs if something were to go wrong, who is covering the utilities and stuff until they move out. Possession for the cleanest. Possession happens immediately upon a successful closing. That's the cleanest, that's the easiest. One I got this week, moving something into a home before you own it is a risk. There are things that could happen that would delay that closing. So a risk for the seller is, what if I move something in like my scooter that has lithium ion batteries or whatever they are, and they start on fire and the house is on fire. As the buyer, I don't own that property. It's still the seller's property, right? Now, let's say as the buyer, I've moved all the stuff into the garage, and then a tree falls on the house and it destroys my stuff. What happened, right? So the cleanest always is possession happens immediately upon a successful close. Transfer of funds.
We talk about just the sale of the buyer's property.
Maybe we'll get back to it, but I gotta go through these fast. I put too many on here. All right, was that give all the answers to your? Requires the rent back. Yeah. Post closing occupancy. All right, CIC. Buyers have 10 days for CIC, and they can waive it after 3. Oh, buyers have 10 days to review. I don't even know what blank you guys are, what the blank is.
We need
10 days. All right, you have 10 days. PA lines 16 through 36. What's not in there that realtors oftentimes end up buying for their clients? It's a washer and a dryer. Just know that they're not part of that spot, right? So read all those things. When your client goes, another thing that happens is buyers or sellers sell their house, and when they leave, they've taken all the Ring doorbells and the things that are on there. Remember, those are mounted. Those are property now of the house. They can transfer the house. Go ahead.
If I have all that stuff, like a thermostat in the Nest, whatever.
Yep.
And someone walks through my house, they see that in there, and then when they move in, I put a regular doorbell in.
Yeah,
Put
you
the old
changed it.
thermostat.
Yeah.
What happens
You
there?
changed it. So then they're going to say, hey, this isn't how we bought the house. Where are these things? And then the agent's going to go, hey, you're not supposed to take those. And then the person will go, well, why didn't you tell me? And then the agent go, okay, I'll pay for it. Right? That's the correction oftentimes is you didn't tell me, you got to pay, right? Same thing with like balance. Is balance the word? That's the part that goes from window treatments. They stay. If you love them, then take them down.
Before even the photo.
That's right. Before the photos, before you have anyone in your house, you want to remove all that stuff. So when you're doing your presentation, you might say to them, hey, if you have anything mounted to the wall, which is being screwed in, you want to remove those. TVs, this doesn't stay, but this does. Right? The mount stays, not the TV. Same with,
Request the TV.
same with speakers. This is personal property. So
Unless you have an exception list.
unless you include it in your you can do 2 things. See, here's the purchase agreement. This is where I try to put too much in here.
We have to have you back, Kevin.
I love to do this again.
another.
So your personal property is all right there. And then it says the following items shall be transferred with no additional money, free and clear and all liens. So, and you're going to include certain things else. That's where I always encourage you to put washer and dryer. You don't need another addendum. Just put washer and dryer right there. If you're going to exclude something, you can write on there. Ring doorbell and Nest thermostat will be removed and replaced with blah, 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 blah. You can put that right there.
Line 36.
On line 36. You just want to give some clarity. Now, if there are a whole bunch of every other items, then you want a personal property addendum to add to that. Good? Extra personal property should be transferred by a bill of sale or a personal property amendment. And then arbitration lines, 517, 521, which is this spot down here. Is it optional or it must be done? Oh, yeah, Kevin, get there. Right here. Is it optional or do you have to do it?
Sign that?
Yeah.
We should do the arbitration, the disclosure.
Just this part right here. Does this need signed? This part needs signed because it says I had the option to review it. Do you have to agree to arbitration? No. What happens if one party refuses arbitration? The whole thing is void. Tomorrow our attorney will tell you you should not agree to arbitration. That's what his opinion is. I, as a broker, haven't told you what you have to do. Just know, agreeing to arbitration, it says right at the top, you are giving up a right, right? Doesn't mean you can't. If all parties would agree later to arbitrate, you can still arbitrate. But
We have to disclose to our clients that we aren't, but I mean, technically you're sending it off to them and you're like, okay, you guys can sign this and it's optional and only one person not signing it makes it void.
yep,
But
I always say,
actually, I'm not gonna sign it, so just so you know, I'm not gonna sign
Yep.
it. You have to.
I always send it to them. Hey, you have the option to do this. I refuse to.
No.
I'm not going to sign arbitration.
But then what do they say? They're like, well, why not? You're my agent. Why are you gonna?
Yeah, and I always tell people I don't sign it because I don't like the line in bold that says by signing this form you're giving up a right. Why would I prematurely give up a right? You can argue. No, I'm saying not like we're arguing, but you can argue that as a buyer, maybe it's better. The challenge is by signing that, you're also giving up your right. That person can just take you right. Your client can take you to arbitration rather than having to go through the legal process. And the legal process has certain rules in it that arbitration does not. Our attorney tomorrow will tell you he can't defend you as well in arbitration as he could in a legal spot. There's just, if you get sued, one of the things an attorney can do is just make it so expensive to sue you that they're gonna leave you alone. There's all these different things why maybe you don't want to give up arbitration rights.
Bring those questions.
Bring those questions tomorrow. It's gonna be really good. All right, ready? I thought we said we were gonna do this and we didn't do it, but I'm gonna give you the next ones. We're going fast. Are we on section 7? Where are we? Section 8? Appraisal waiver possible with conventional loans, 20% down. Number 2, low appraisal options. You can reduce price, you can do seller concessions, buyer brings some cash, or you can cancel. There are options when you get a low appraisal. Number 3, seller concessions can pay for rate buy down, lender and title fees, prepaids, PMI, but cannot exceed the buyer's actual cost. Also remember, the seller paying you is not part of that concession. Next section, final walkthrough. The purpose of walkthrough is to verify condition and the repairs that were needed. If skipped, risk is on the buyer. FERPTA. I'll just say if you're buying a home from a seller and they have checked they are for an individual, you want to have your client consult an attorney. What does this mean? Okay. Nothing wrong with foreign individuals owning property or selling property. It just adds another layer to it. So it's covered in PA lines 436 through 449. Buyer must withhold tax if seller is a foreign person. Agents cannot determine FERPTA exception. Not up to you because we're not experts in that. All right, MLS status and offers. TNAS stands for temporarily not available for showing, which means for all people, you can't do a showing. Can you have an inspector come during a TNAS? Yes, it's not a showing. You can have work done like that. 2, cancel an unaccepted offer with a short email or notice in writing. You don't have to put an addendum. You don't have to do anything. It's from the buyer's agent. You just send and say, my client withdraws the offer they submitted on blank, 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 blank. Once that's delivered, then that's canceled. It's not a valid contract. The other party goes, oh no, we're gonna sign it right away. Nope, already canceled.
In that instance, if you do the email route and then they never respond.
That's all right. You sent it. It's on the responsibility of the, but keep that, right? Things are always good in writing. Agents should be answering your phone call. You should be talking to people. You should be doing all those different things in negotiation. It doesn't need to always go through text. However, you should confirm everything through writing, whether that be text. Just know if you're texting, they can take your phone and then they see everything on your phone. So maybe you don't want to do as texting as much, or maybe you want to have a real estate phone. Maybe I don't, but I think maybe it makes a good idea. And then 2, again, attorney will tell you this tomorrow. 2, always confirm delivery with a receipt of offers. Hey, please confirm that you received this. Our attorney will also tell you that you should put a tagline at the bottom of your email that says something like, if upon reading, or if you don't have any further questions, I will take that everything's good and we'll move forward. Something like that. He'll tell us one more. All right, section 12. Are we ready? Valid contract requires offer, acceptance, consideration, lawful purpose, and competent parties. Can a 16-year-old buy a house? No. Can a drunk individual buy a house? No. Can a high individual buy a house? No. Can a person with special needs sign for a house? No. I changed that one because a person with special needs could buy a house through a power of attorney, right? Or a conservator or someone looking out for them. So it's not that. It's just you have to be competent in and of sound mind to do purchase. Legal age. Void equals it's missing an element or illegal. Voidable is there's been fraud, duress, or it's been a minor. Breach means failure to perform. Hey, you're in breach of contract. We're going to bring you back into. An amendment fixes deadlines and terms. Whoops, I got that in there late. I'm going to change that with an amendment. When is it too late to do an amendment? After closing. Up until the point of closing, you can change the contract with both parties agreeing to it. Good? Lots of information? Lots of information? Good information? Anyone learn anything? Well, yeah, thanks. All right, perfect. Do you guys like the fill in the blank thing? You have something to go with you as you leave? Awesome. All right. Thank you very, very much.